Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State, the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee. Congressman, we appreciate you taking the time. You posted on social media this: Trump is moving in a fascist direction, and we need to stop him, you write. How do you do that as a Democrat when the Republican Party controls the White House, the House, and the Senate?
Well, the first thing you do is you be very clear about the message and try to convince the American people of it. We have to persuade people to agree with us. And you saw Lisa Murkowski making her comments. You've heard other Republicans expressing concerns. If we identify what Trump and Musk are doing as what it is, which is basically trying to smash the federal government so that they can have greater power and control, this has nothing to do with efficiency and effectiveness. You line up 100 CEOs in the country and say, is this the way you'd run your business if you wanted to make it more efficient and effective? Absolutely zero would say yes. This is about Trump and Musk creating a situation where they have the power to do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it, without any checks on that power. Call it what it is and build support in the country against it. And then also sue, which we have been doing. Use the courts to block the illegal actions that they're taking. But there's a basic messaging campaign. We've got to get our message out aggressively so that we can get more people to agree with us. And also, I think we have to build up credibility amongst the Democratic Party. A lot of people have concerns about the Democratic Party and a bunch of issues. Build our credibility, identify what Musk and Trump are doing for what it is, and build support. That's how you push back.
In the first Trump term, we saw this huge resistance movement that really hasn't materialized in the same massive way, at least this time around. Do you expect a Capitol Hill sit-in protest like we're expecting today can move the needle? Is that enough pressure on this administration to, I guess, recalibrate?
Yeah, no one thing is enough. And I think that's part of the problem. Look, there's a certain sense of exhaustion. I mean, we've been fighting Trump for 5 years now, trying to stop this from happening. And people are trying to figure out what's going to work. And I also think people are like I said, it's like, well, I'm going to protest. I'm going to do it. No one thing is going to turn this around. It has to be a series of collective actions and individual actions. And there has to be a fierce desire to get that out, but also not a feeling of, my gosh, if we haven't solved the problem by tomorrow, what's the point? You have to keep at it and do a variety of different things to draw attention to this. And one good example, the budget resolution that's on the floor today. Republicans make two arguments for the idiocy of what they're doing with our federal workforce. One, we got to be more efficient and more effective. As I just said, the way they're doing it is the exact opposite of that. And second, they give impassioned pleas about the debt and the deficit. My gosh, I know it's a little chaotic, but goodness, we have to get this under control because the debt and the deficit are just so bad. And today, they're planning on voting for a budget resolution that is going to increase the debt by $2 trillion over the next decade. This is an absolute lie that Donald Trump is telling to the American people. Call them out on that lie and begin to build support to push back.
Well, I have to wonder, we're going to talk about the budget later in the show, the bill that is up for a vote today. I do wonder, though, what the American people really care about, if they care more about the tax cuts that would balloon the deficit, or if they care about a balanced budget. But that's a different conversation. Coming back to what we're seeing with DOGE and the millions of people who have now lost jobs because of this slash and burn strategy, we are reporting some Republicans are now planning to raise these DOGE concerns during a meeting with President Trump today, when the entire sophomore GOP class will be at the White House. Congressman Rich McCormick of Georgia, who had quite the earful at some of his town halls we've covered in the last few days, he told NBC News this: the question is, do we give people time to adjust to their lives? And I think that's my biggest concern, is that we're being compassionate. How do you respond to that?
Look, the biggest thing, Republicans in Congress need to start being less pathetic. I mean, that's where we need to start. They have turned the entire government over to the cult of personality that is Donald Trump and to some extent Elon Musk. They have completely abdicated any responsibility because they are deathly afraid of saying anything that Donald Trump doesn't want to hear. They need to change that. And I'm glad Congressman McCormick put out that mild little statement. But Republicans need to stand up for this institution. They need to stand up for representative democracy and say, no, Donald Trump is not a king. We have a system of government, and we in Congress have a profound responsibility to exercise our authority as a check on that power. If we don't agree with things that Trump's doing, we need to say it and push back against it. I can't tell you the number of Republicans that I've talked to. When they completely shut down USAID, I am the co-chair of the Caucus for Effective Foreign Assistance. I've worked with Republicans for 15 years to make foreign assistance more effective. I went to my colleagues on that and said, hey, completely shutting it down, not making it more effective. Oh, you're right. Yeah, that is a problem. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Well, nothing. So we have to put that pressure on Republicans in Congress, and I'll end where I started. They have to start being less pathetic and start standing up for their constituents, for the country, and for the Constitution.
I should clarify that we don't know how many people have lost their jobs. There are millions of federal workers who could lose their jobs, but there has been a lack of transparency with DOGE. It's impossible to know how many have lost jobs, how much money is actually being saved. DOGE just launched what they are calling this agency efficiency leaderboard and list the estimated savings. So far, it is claimed to have saved about $65 billion, but there are numerous discrepancies in the numbers, and that is far less than the at least $2 trillion in savings Musk had originally promised. Are there ways that you think DOGE could actually be effective in saving taxpayers' money?
Not the way it's set up. And understand that that's not the point. What I keep saying is Musk and Trump want to smash the federal government so that it is weaker and it doesn't get in the way of what they want to do. Okay, that's exactly what they're doing. And it's the only explanation for the way they're doing it. They're not trying to make it more efficient and more effective. Look, when this thing was first set up, the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, I'm deeply concerned about the way the Pentagon does acquisition and procurement. I don't think they're doing it efficiently. And I saw the way Elon Musk set up SpaceX, going through requirements, getting to better results. I thought, hey, this is something we could do. So I met with him, but that's not what they're trying to do. Look, the federal workforce hasn't grown in 40 years. When you look at what's inefficient and ineffective about the federal government, the size of the workforce is not it. And I'm talking real numbers. I'm not talking adjusted for inflation or population growth. The federal workforce has been flat for 40 years. That's not the reason that government isn't as efficient and effective as it should be. And it's also not the focus of Musk and Trump. The focus is to smash our federal government so that they individually have more power. And it is time we call them out on that and stand up against it.
Congressman Adam Smith, appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the time.
Next, prayers for Mike Johnson.